Okay, I know you guys are probably thinking, hey Mario, did you technically already tackle through Super Mario Bros. Back on the forms of in 2017? Well, the thing is though, is the fact that I don't mind doing this game again, but this time around though on the original version of the game on the NES, or Famicom for Japan, so as a result though, it's want to classify something for this point right now. Thus, because since how the fact that yesterday that Maxi he's already finishing up with the forms of Mario Party 8, so we figure we might as well able to actually tackle for the, let's just say, a shortest Let's Play for the sake of the forms of this year so far. So yeah, that's as far as we can able to consider this a plan. So, hey, what is up everybody? It is I am the one and only Mario here, and I am from the likes of the Maxi Toys videos here. So ladies and gentlemen, we'll present you our, technically, the second version of this particular Let's Play, which is Super Mario Bros. But as far as like I said before, that the version we're going to be playing on is the NES version this time. So because, obviously, we've already done the Super Nintendo versions of Super Mario Bros. 1, Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels, Super Mario Bros. 2, as well as Super Mario Bros. 3, but ultimately speaking though, with those 4 playthroughs in mind, I will consider classifying for calling this Super Mario All-Stars Let's Play entirely. So as a result, for this particular year and onwards though, we can pretty much get able to actually tackle for its original form for the rest of the forms of the classic 2D Mario games, starting with, of course, Super Mario Bros. So, that basically explains this. So, yeah, this game first came out in 1985, so yeah, I can't believe that this game is going to be almost 37 years old, because as far as I'm aware about the fact that, well, relatively speaking, this is one of the most iconic video games of all time, to be more specifically on the NES. Especially noticeable, this is our first ever true Mario game that utilizes the forms of some platforming skills, as well as some enemies to jump on, and you probably name the rest. Especially noticeable about the fact that this game was actually the introduction to quite a number of characters, like specifically Princess Toadstool, alongside with the forms of King Koopa, or in some cases Bowser in some cases, including Toad as well. So yeah, you probably get the idea about that. So, as for this particular playthrough, as far as this is concerned, much like the forms of the Super Mario All-Stars version of this Let's Play, I'm obviously going to be going through every single levels of the game, which means all 8 worlds, which actually brings us a grand total of 32 levels total. So, yeah, you probably get the idea. And unfortunately though, unlike in Super Mario All-Stars Let's Play back in 2017, that Luigi's no longer with me at this point in time, until maybe specifically in a later time, but not now anyway though, because obviously I'm going to be playing this by myself. So just in case we can able to actually guarantee that we're most able to play this a very quick run, although I'm hoping I won't get a game over for the sake of the forms of the first game in the series, you know, because, well, you know what I mean, when it comes to the forms of the first game in the series though, that sometimes it has some good parts here and there, whilst other times though it does have some negative side effects, so. But, you probably get the idea of how this is going. So, yeah, today's date is, of course, the 5th of June today. In this case, in 2022 today. So, like I said before, that ever since when, you know, Maxi has already finishing up with the forms of Mario Party 8, so, expecting about the fact that during the forms of next weekend, that he could potentially try to able to tackle for another new Let's Play he can possibly do, but we'll have to wait and see what happens and during at some point until next week. So, and yeah, of course, before he goes back on to you know, Super Mario 3D All-Stars from the likes of Super Mario Sunshine, and of course Raid the Flying Squirrel, that he just barely got started with the forms of SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom rehydrated so far. So because of this though, yeah, it's gonna be filled to the brim of Summerfest kind of situations or something. So, of course, every single world does manage able to give us 4 different levels to tackle through, so in each and every single end of every single world, then you do realize about the fact that we always are able to actually fight against with Bowser, but it turns out it was actually like a fake Bowser, because it was actually like a miserable clone, like for instance has been disguised by the forms of all kinds of enemies, ranging from Goombas, Koopas, as well as the forms of the future enemies coming up. So yeah, those enemies are nothing right to harm about when it comes to Goombas and Koopa Troopas, especially noticeable with those piranha plants you know as well. I mean, relatively speaking, of course, is the fact that if you somehow manage to go near to the actual pipe, when the piranha plant was in there, then it doesn't usually come out until you're able to actually left off screen or anything else to be more specific. So yeah, you get the idea about that. So, and of course there are some power-ups in this game, so of course you're able to come across into only 3 power-ups in this game, which there are mushrooms, which are able to give you a bit of an extra hit, and then also you get yourselves a fire flower, which is the best power-up in this game. So because not only you can able to actually add up to your bigger defense, well, though, depending on the forms of how the fact that, well, you probably get the idea, because this is the first game in the forms of the Super Mario Bros. Lineup, so because of this, though, every time you take damage, if you somehow manage to equip yourselves the Fire Flower, basically you go all the way back to square one, to be more specifically Small Mario. So because of that, unlike in, let's just say the Game Boy Color equivalent, which is of course Super Mario Bros. Deluxe, which obviously not only contains Super Mario Bros. But also Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels, aka Super Mario Bros. For super players, for sake of the forms of that particular mode in mind. So throughout your journey, though, is the fact that the ultimate goal is the fact that you have to make your way to the very end of that particular level while trying to jump onto the ginormous gold flagpole until you move on to the next level. So yeah, that pretty much summarized the forms of how the fact that, well, this game is very, very simple. Well, for those of you who ever seen our Let's Play of Super Mario All-Stars back in 2017, well, despite the fact that the quality itself is okay, I mean, relatively speaking, though, is the fact that we obviously got a capture card and everything else to be more specific. However, though, I cannot be applied with the forms of the actual commentary, I must admit, especially noticeable because sometimes that it's very hard to able to, like, it's hard to explain because it has been about a couple of years ago since we've actually last played Super Mario All-Stars. Well, I'm usually referring to the Wii re-release version of the game because somehow I just got both versions of Super Mario All-Stars, ranging from the hacked Super Nintendo Mini alongside with the forms of the physical version of the Wii re-release from the likes of the forms of the 25th anniversary celebration for Super Mario Bros. So yeah, you probably get the idea about that. So, but I digress. So, another thing I want to explain about this as well, I guess, is the fact that, well, almost there, guys, until we're able to actually get into the forms of the Summer Game Fest. Especially noticeable that we might able to actually consider to able to actually find out that we might able to actually see some gameplay footage of Sonic Frontiers or anything else to be more specific, but it's all about speculations at the moment, so we can probably expect of what this is going. Especially noticeable, we are very, very excited, able to actually hopefully try to see some more infos, or in some cases new footage, from the likes of Sonic Frontiers, because the last time we've heard about Sonic Frontiers is that I'm sure that Mighty the Armadillo, along with Raid the Flying Squirrel, and even especially noticeable with Pac-Man, that 3 of these guys have already mentioned about this ever since in The Simpsons Hit and Run, which, by the way, that those 3 will pretty much guarantee they're all able to continue their Let's Play of The Simpsons Hit and Run, maybe at some point in July, or specifically until the later months to come. But either way though, this is all depending on the forms of the uploading schedules alike, because, well, relatively speaking though, it's just the fact that hopefully we'll try to able to caught up with, you know, some more uploading schedules, and you probably name the rest, so, but I digress. Oh yeah, just like in the forms of how it does it on Super Mario Land for the Game Boy, this is gonna be the singular playthrough of the game, so it's not gonna be divided into 2 parts, because originally it wasn't supposed to be able to actually get into 2 parts, but I've decided able to go for a full playthrough of the game, just in case if you probably couldn't tell about the fact that, well, this game is really, really short, unlike the future sequels, which is Super Mario Bros. 2, Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels, and Super Mario Bros. 3, that those games are considerably the longest of the bunch. So, as you can see right there, I'm actually going to be pulling off an infinite 1-up trick. So, it can be very difficult to able to execute it for, especially noticeable that unlike the future 2D Mario games, that basically is the fact that, well, relatively speaking, like, let's just say, New Super Mario Bros. Wii, New Super Mario Bros. 2, then basically it's all pretty easy when you get the hang of it though. Whilst the new forms of the old school games, specifically this game in particular, sometimes it can be very tricky to execute. But, luckily for me, I somehow managed to able to execute this, so it's all about timing button presses and what have you, so if you do it well enough, then you probably will guaranteed able to get a whole bunch of lives, so... And also, I did manage to did that trick whenever I sometimes managed able to play Super Mario Bros. Deluxe on the Game Boy Color, so I really do like that stuff. Especially noticeable about the fact that, thankfully, I won't be getting any single game overs on this run, so that really does help me, so, yeah, I digress. And I do apologize for that particular, awkward commentary sometimes. It's only mainly because I was a little bit... kind of hungry, I'm not gonna lie, especially noticeable after eating so much food recently for all that barbecues and all that jazz, especially noticeable that we now on June, in this case, the, well, the beginning of the summer season, so, yeah, you get the actual idea for this point, so, anyways, let's move on to 3-3, so in this case, though, it might be exactly the similar kind of level theme as in, level 1-3, so, yeah, you get the idea. So, and also, obviously, about the fact that sometimes in this particular first rendition of the Super Mario Bros. Game, that sometimes the momentum might able to actually feel a bit slightly dated, but for the most part, I did manage to practice this game loads of times, either on the forms of not only on the Wii's Virtual Console release, or the Wii U's Virtual Console release, or, especially noticeable with the forms of the Game & Watch Super Mario Bros. Edition, so, along with the forms of Super Mario Bros. 35 for the Nintendo Switch Online, which is kind of unfortunate still that you can no longer play that game anymore because of the forms of the limited amount of time and stuff like that. Like, seriously, why couldn't it be last very long? Like, I do get it because of the forms of the deadline and stuff like that, which I know some people might seem to say, oh, this is probably the most controversial thing that's ever consisted of, so... Anyway, so we've pretty much done with World 3, and now we'll move on to World 4. In this case, we have the introduction to Lakitus and Spinies. So, in fact, this is easily the easiest level that you can pretty much guarantee you must be able to do not stop on any forms of this entire stage. Like, I practiced this stage so many times in the past, especially noticeable, including with the forms of, you know, the Game Boy Color version, along with the forms of the Super Nintendo Super Mario All-Stars version. So, yeah, that pretty much summarizes as such. So, then if you couldn't tell already, in terms of the forms of the quality standpoints of this footage, much like the forms of our Let's Play of Metroid, I'm going to be playing on the NES Classic Mini, because obviously the color details on the NES Classic Mini feels a lot more better than the forms of that pretty dull and darker colors from the likes of the forms of the Wii U version. So I did manage to test that out, and yeah, it is pretty ugly from the likes of the forms of the Wii U version of that particular game itself or something like that. So yeah, you probably get the idea that the reason why I managed to go for the NES Classic Mini as opposed to the any other versions for that matter, including emulator and all that jazz, because it's probably is the reason why, because I just couldn't be bothered. So, anyways, let's go down here, because, well, there's also some warp zones you can able to take, but I'm probably not gonna go for this route, mainly because, well, if I somehow manage able to get into, World 8, like, for about, lesser amount of lives, or anything else to be more specific, I will instantly get myself a game over if I somehow did, so... Which generally, the 8th world is considered to be the hardest world in the game, because it's pretty obvious, because of no checkpoints, along with the forms of tougher enemies, and on top of all that stuff though, some of these levels in World 8 can be felt a bit very lengthy, so... Anyway, so let's move on to World 4-3, where basically we can now able to hop onto these mushrooms as platforms, even though, despite the fact that I failed that jump, so in this case, there's our first death of the game, so whoops. But that's okay, because obviously I still got infinite amount of lives, I guess. So, in this case, so let's try this again. So, yeah, I should probably also mention is the fact that the actual, jumping physics can be felt a bit stiff at times. Especially noticeable about the fact that, well, usually, because again, the momentum might actually felt a bit, well, carries a lot of momentum whenever when Mario is decided to able to actually just to jump or run and all that jazz. But then again though, until when it gets to the point until Super Mario Bros. 2, aka Super Mario USA, along with Super Mario Bros. 3 of course, that thankfully the momentum felt a little bit more, I would say lighter I guess. So in this case though, you probably get the idea of how I usually think about it. Or don't get me wrong, I usually still enjoy this game, but relatively speaking though, unlike the Japanese exclusive sequel called Super Mario Bros. 2, aka Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels, is an entirely different story, especially noticeable that, gee, no wonder why, a lot of people seem to really want to play Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels from the likes of the Super Mario All-Stars version because, well, obviously the Super Mario All-Stars version does manage to offer us the save system, so because of that though, you can able to obviously continue where you left off and all that jazz. So relatively speaking though, that's as far as I can usually try to explain about this for the most part here, so anyway, so let's move on to the halfway point in terms of Super Mario Bros. Oh, of course, there's also the hard mode in the game, which I think you can only able to actually access that if you manage to beat the game once. So, yeah, that's pretty much that. So, anyways, there's the secret here, so that way we can able to grind for more coins and all that jazz. Yeah, collecting coins is important, especially noticeable that if you're low on lives, then basically that getting 100 of them will give you an extra life. So yeah, to be expected for the most part, especially noticeable if you haven't played this game loads of times already. In fact, kind of thinking about it, this is one of the best-selling NES games back in the day, from the likes of in 1985, or in some cases in Europe, that this game didn't came out until 1987 in the European version, strangely. So because of that though, relatively speaking, because this game came out exactly the same year, as in, well, let's just say, both of those pretty bad movies back in the forms of in 1985, such as for instance The Black Cauldron, that's actually one of the really very, very dull films as far as I'm concerned. And another one is A View to a Kill for the likes of the films of the James Bond movie, which I will say that both of those movies in that year is considered to be one of the weakest. Oh, Jesus Louise, those godforsaking Hammer Bros! So yeah, this is one of those introductions of probably is my most hated enemy. Like, they're generally left and right, and they just somehow manage able to go back and forth, and most of the time you're just able to meet them in pairs. I mean, honestly, they don't give me any sort of trouble all the time though, except on the last part, on the final level in the game, which you probably already know why, because obviously that we'll save that conversation until for later. So for the most part though, I basically just managed able to swipe every single parts of it though, for the sake of the entire game so far, so. And I believe what's even stranger is the fact that with that lives counter right there as you see, that somehow we just only got one crown and a letter somehow, which actually represents O, but I believe this might be something related to letters, as in like lives, so now I actually got crown N as opposed to crown O, so this means I basically guaranteed I somehow keep on dying quite a few times, especially noticeable in 5-3's case, so trial no, I guess, especially noticeable you have to do with a lot of like, oh god, okay. That was a close one, because I almost gonna get myself screwed, but regardless of such though, we're doing just okay, for the most part, so, okay, so, oh god, okay. Yeah, this level is basically kind of like World 1-3, except now they spawn in bullet bills, so I think the first time I actually experienced this game was actually back in 2008, when I somehow managed able to try out the the Masterpieces mode from the likes of in Super Smash Bros. Brawl. Although you do usually get the game from the get-go, unlike Super Mario Bros. 2, aka Super Mario USA, in Japan, that because you have to able to win 5 games with Peach. So, at least as far as I can usually classify that. So, anyways, let's move on to level 5-4, where basically, now, we've already experienced the amount of layouts for certain castle levels before, except now it makes things a bit harder due to the forms of more hazards, and on top of all that stuff though, fireballs, and on top of all that stuff though, this will be the last time that, fake Bowser were able to actually just to do that particular technique, that basically he just walks around for a bit and also just shoot fireballs at you. Although, mind you though, in the beginning of the game, he doesn't do anything at all. All he does is just walk around and stuff like that, from like left or right. Whilst whenever we get to World 6 and onwards though, that he now starts to get a little bit more threatening. Especially noticeable that, because, you know, you got so far in the game, so because of that though, the amount of challenge is actually going to get increased. So, to be expected with most retro video games every now and then for its retro vibes and all that stuff. So, here we go, on to World 6 now. So because of that though, we can expect that we'll be able to do nicely timed jumps and all that jazz. And we made it to the end, so nicely done. Although, before we get into the forms of Super Mario Bros. 2, in this case Super Mario USA and Japan though, relatively speaking though, that we will divide it onto those specific playthroughs within a few separate parts, including Super Mario Bros. 3. Now I should probably point things out right away. Unlike any forms of how it does it on Super Mario All-Stars Let's Play back in 2017, that relatively speaking, that we did manage to able to done all of these 4 games in the actual chronological order. I'm actually going to do something completely different for the sake of the forms of, let's just say, the NES versions of those games. Because normally, I'm actually going to be going through Super Mario Bros. And Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels, Super Mario Bros. 2 and Super Mario Bros. 3, but I've decided able to actually go through this, along with Super Mario Bros. 2, aka Super Mario USA, and Super Mario Bros. 3, and we'll save the Lost Levels for last, because let me tell you for this point guys, the NES version of Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels, well, nothing bad, it just feels a bit, well, out of all the actual classic Mario games I played, this, the Lost Levels is what I played the least. Because I think, relatively speaking, it certainly ranks a bit lower in comparison to the forms of the other 3 amazing Super Mario's Adventures on the NES days, so... Because I can totally see why that a lot of people seem to really dislike Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels, mainly because it's all frustrating difficulty. I mean, it looks like Mario, and it plays like Mario, however though, the level design is not Mario, because it's been made by, usually it's like the equivalent, or in this case before, when ROM hacks exist. So because of that though, or to be more specifically like fan hacks that managed able to customize the play, well, I don't know about you, because even though it has been a very long time since I actually last played Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels on, not only on the NES or Famicom Disk System, for those of you left in Japan, but also on the Super Nintendo version from the likes of Super Mario All-Stars version, which is the more of a definitive way of playing the game in my opinion. Because the problem with the forms of, the Game Boy Color remake of Super Mario Bros. The original, is the fact that obviously you have to worry about the screen crunch, which also applies onto any other Mario Game Boy Advance games, that's for sure. To be more specifically, Super Mario... Ah, come on! Okay, whatever. I was expecting if I was trying to get that mushroom, but I made a couple of mistakes there, so... Oh boy, this is where the game starts getting really deadly or dangerous as far as this is concerned, because now that there's so much fireballs and also fire bars, they now appear more often, especially noticeable about the fact that, well, the reason why we've decided able to not go for the hard mode of this particular playthrough, because it plays exactly the same, aside from some of these enemies that's been replaced, to be more specifically with those Buzzy Beetles. So because of this though, let's make a run for it! So that way we can able to take the invincibility frames and then call it a day. So pretty easy when you get the hang of it though, aside from the fact that it might be pretty tricky this time. So now let's move on to World 7. So in this case, we are pretty much almost nearly at the end of this game, basically. So, again, I would like to able to explain about the forms of other details on certain stuff, but, in fact, let me know in the comments below for the question of the day. Do you guys want me to able to actually, well, it might be something more illogical, but let me know in the comments below for the question of the day, that do you want to let me try to decide able to do a redo Let's Play of Super Mario All-Stars within a much more better quality, along with, commentary as well, because the problem with the forms of back in 2017 version of that particular Let's Play sometimes is the fact that not only do we able to actually stumble across the forms of, well, let's just say, a decent quality, although mind you, it only runs at 480p because it actually runs on the Wii. So as a result though, because we didn't actually got the Super Nintendo Classic Mini back in the day, so as a result though, that's relatively speaking, you know, on top of all that stuff though, specifically in Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels, or Super Mario Bros. 2, and maybe in the beginning of Super Mario Bros. 3, that for the love of God, the actual mic commentary in those particular parts, that it is so horrible, especially noticeable because after all, that usually happened back in the forms of about almost 5 years ago, where we had our first microphone that usually utilizes our first ever commentary we actually did done through our life, and as a result though, that it did sometimes cuts off. So as a result though, let me know in the comments, because either way though, just to make sure about the fact that we can able to improve certain Let's Plays in the future for that improved quality and stuff like that. Mind you, not every single one of them though, to be more specifically with, you know what I mean, the rest of the Mario and Sonic and the Olympic Games series, in addition to Mario Party as well, and on top of all that stuff though, Mario Kart games even there as well. But just in case if you really want to see a much more gorgeous picture quality and all the other jazz. Although, relatively speaking, would you like to let me also decide able to do a redo Let's Play of The Legend of Zelda at some point in the future? To be more specifically, I'm referring to the NES game, because I remember back in 2018 where Daffy Duck somehow managed able to did that game, but ultimately speaking though, is the fact that the quality isn't all that great though, mainly because, although first things first though, the commentary is okay enough, however though, the color scheme just feels a bit dull, so because of that though, because you can't really see the actual perfect, you know what I mean, with the actual HUDs and everything else to be more specific, or maybe, just maybe, a redo Let's Play of Kirby's Adventure, because also with the forms of the colors is actually a bit dull, like usually because it's all like, kind of dark and all that jazz, which is kind of unpleasant to look at, all that jazz. Although, yeah, let me know in the comments, because either way though, well, despite the fact that, well, relatively speaking, that, we actually did pretty good for our Kirby series of Let's Plays in the past, to be more specifically with, you know what I mean, Kirby Superstar, although despite the fact that it might actually give us a bit of disorientating, imagery and stuff like that, which I wasn't expecting that, and, also we did pretty well in, Kirby Dream Land 3, or anything else to be more specific, because, well, I don't know about you, because either way though, it has been a very long time since I actually just trying to able to hopefully try to schedule those specific Let's Plays in mind. Well, mind you about the fact that, you know, like I said, hopefully Maxi will able to go back onto Super Mario 3D All-Stars from Super Mario Sunshine, and especially noticeable with the forms of Ray the Flying Squirrel will hopefully go back onto SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom rehydrated, so yeah, you get the idea about that. Or, actually, gotta think about it, I've actually decided to change my mind with the forms of the Kirby Let's Plays, because I think it's gonna be perfectly fine as it is for our quality and everything. So it's just the fact that, wow, I'm actually having a bit of a struggle recently, because not only do we able to come across into our heat wave at the moment, but also about the fact that, wow, our subscribers count is once again just keeps on like messing things up beyond belief. Like, well, it's just the fact that sometimes if we manage able to get our, you know, a notification to tell us about the fact that we actually got a subscriber out there, but then next you notice is the fact that we keep on getting screwed over because the forms of their numbers just somehow did not increase at all. Oh, and by the way, with the forms of level 4-4, I believe, as well as World 7-4, and maybe at some point in the next level as well, I guess, that we have to do a bit of a lap with puzzle elements for this stage. So because of that, if you somehow accidentally choose the wrong way, basically you have to go all the way back to the beginning of that part. And as a result though, that it does take a bit of a memorization to consider it, so... Alright, so here we go folks, on to the final world in Super Mario Bros., which is none other than World 8 itself. So because of this though, yeah, as you can tell, that we now actually start to introduce into ourselves these Buzzy Beetles. Now with those Buzzy Beetles as the enemies themselves, they don't harm to you from the likes if you're trying to able to throw the fireballs at them. So because obviously Buzzy Beetles actually has like a hard shell, as opposed to Koopa Troopas, they are easily being taken down. So because of that though, relatively speaking, it's actually not too noticeable for the actual, you know, differences between, you know, certain enemy encounters and all that jazz. But either way though, it knows what it is, so... Anyway, so Starman for the win. Well, despite the fact that we have to do a very, very tricky platforming segment, I'm not gonna lie, because as a result though, this is by far the hardest world in the game. Pretty much obvious of why, because, you know, this is the finale and all that jazz, and we finished the level like so. Nicely done for my platforming parts. So now let's move on to World 8-2. So I think this is where, yep, Lakitu just shows up. And on top of all that stuff though is the fact that we need to dodge a lot of spiny shells. So, I wasn't paying attention because I'm just felt a little bit too hasty. Because I was expecting if I was trying to get a super mushroom in one of those blocks. But it doesn't bother me too much though, because obviously I just did a... You know, it's a good thing I did manage to done the one-up trick and all that stuff ever since in World 3-1, so you can pretty much expect how this is going, so... And I don't know about you, because unlike in Super Mario Bros. 35, that despite the fact that it's been ages since I actually last played the game, despite the fact that it's no longer playable, that I believe you're able to actually get, like, coins, or in some cases, like, I don't know, it's been a very long time. So, and unfortunately I died again, but that's okay, because we can expect that we might able to actually get that extra life again. So, at the very least, it's super generous with this level sometimes. Assuming if you keep on failing for that particular segment worth noting for, so... There we go, extra life back, and hopefully we're not gonna mess things up with these, you know, single jumps and all that jazz, because, you know, believe me, it's gonna get pretty tricky, I'm not gonna lie, if you somehow manage to mess up with your jumps and all that jazz, but, oh, okay, there we go. Because unlike in, you know, the lost levels is actually gonna get very, very stingy and picky, even with the forms of how the fact that certain warp zones from the likes of the forms of the lost levels, that some of them will actually push you back. So as a result though, because unlike in this game, basically, I think there was a grand total of quite a few warp zones. Mind you, I've only stumbled across 2 of them, which I somehow even remember to this day. One of them is in World 1-2, along with the forms of World 4-2. So in this case though, that World 1-2 will either take you to World 2, 3, or 4. And as far as World 4 is concerned, it does manage to able to take you either World 6, 7, or 8. So somehow no warp zones, that does take you to World 5. So, unless there's another level I can think about it, but honestly guys, I think that's as far as I can think about it, so get on my way! Ah, damn you Hammer Bros. Damn you Hammer Bros. Especially noticeable that you always become, you know, like an artificial intelligence for the sake of the forms of knowing the actual patterns and all that stuff, but I can appreciate about the fact that, wow, just make it this far, but I couldn't imagine if how the fact that if I, oh god, oh Jesus Louise, that was so close. Ah, oh, darn it, the Hammer Bro just caught me off guard. Ah, darn you. And, yeah, like I said before, the majority of World 8 has no checkpoints, so unfortunately I screwed that up again, so we're now on to Crown F, so, yeah, that basically explains it. So anyway, so let's just go ahead and try this again, and hopefully we're probably gonna make it. I highly doubt it, but regardless of such though, I'm just gonna have to focus and all that stuff. So I just don't wanna, you know, get the actual messed up jumps and all that jazz. But oh jeez, it's gonna get very, very skitty. But oh Jesus Louise. Okay, get out of my way, Hammer Bro. I know you're able to stop me, but oh god, oh god, oh god, oh my goodness, we made it. Oh, that was a close one. Okay, we were expecting to be able to get an extra life back, but okay, so need to do a timing jumps, and there we go. The final flagpole that we somehow managed to reach. So we now moved on to the final level in Super Mario Bros. That is World 8-4. In this case, the hardest level in the game. Because, well, alongside with the forms of World 8-3, because of the forms of those godforsaken Hammer Bros. So anyways, let's just go ahead and, for this particular level, despite I somehow died, so I believe we're now on Crown E, so yeah, kind of odd, but at least I can able to just hopefully try to make this, I guess, but I digress. So, okay, so we just need to step on this platform and go to this pipe. So yeah, with the forms of this level right here, we need to entering the correct pipes, because if you're entering the wrong pipe, basically this actually takes you slightly backwards a bit, so oh god, okay. So good thing we did get rid of those paratroopers there. So in this case we can hit into this pipe. And then sure enough we need to able to find another correct pipe, which actually leads us to what else? The underwater segment. And I believe as soon as we're able to actually move on to the final room, which not only does it able to contain the actual real version of Bowser himself, but eventually we're able to save Princess Toadstool, aka Princess Peach, which later becomes its own life for the sake of the forms of the future games in the series. So, but before we get into that though, here's the most stingy Hammer Bro right there, but luckily I was lucky enough to able to kill him. So in this case though, we'll just go ahead and deal with the final boss. And simply, we have to just run underneath him, and he's done for good. Yeah, definitely relatively easy, especially noticeable if you already experienced the previous worlds before on one hand, so thank you Mario, your quest is over. We present you a new quest, and then you push A or B, as what's known here, to select a world, which actually leads you to the harder version of the game, and also you would able to actually access to the level select, so which is always nice. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching of our Let's Play of Super Mario Bros. For the NES. I know it's a bit short, but regardless of such though, I honestly don't care. So this is me, Mario, from the likes of the Maxi Toys videos, and I suppose we should probably do Super Mario Bros. 2 on the NES next, aka Super Mario USA in Japan, so we can figure we're able to do those classic 2D Mario action again. So I'll see you guys soon. Bye!